There we are. Let's take a look at the descriptive essay assignment for English 101. Now this assignment sheet is the way that I set up pretty much all of my assignment sheets. Some are longer than others, but you're going to have the due dates at the top, kind of an overview of the assignment, more detail in the middle, and then kind of a checklist toward the end of it. Okay, I try to keep it uniform so you know where to look for certain things. Okay, so let's start with the due dates and make sure you check your assignment for your own due dates. Okay. So the due dates for this assignment, introduction with thesis statement. In essence, this is going to be the first page of your paper. Okay. Introduction with thesis statement is due on September 6th. And we're going to cover this more next week. But where should that thesis statement be located in your introduction? In the first paragraph, but not the first sentence. It should be at the end of the thesis. A lot of high school teachers will ask you to put the thesis at the beginning, basically because they want to see your thesis. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put the thesis as the first sentence, because the purpose of the thesis is to focus your ideas. If you haven't given the reader any clue about what your ideas are going to be, you can't really focus them. So for that reason, we want the thesis to be at the end of the introduction and not the first paragraph. Okay? In the first sentence, not the end of the first paragraph, not at the beginning. I don't think I said that clearly. Now, the rough draft using Respondus Monitor, that's due on the 8th, so that's your due date for either getting access to or purchasing or configuring your webcam. Okay, because the rough draft, since it's got two purposes. The main purpose, of course, is to get something on the page, to get you practice doing multiple drafts, because your paper is going to be better if you do multiple drafts. If you just sit down and type it the night of, it's better than not turning in a paper, certainly, but it's not going to be as good as if you do a couple of drafts and let it sit and you kind of think about it, and then you can look at it with fresh eyes. But it's also a plagiarism deterrent, okay? Because as you're typing your rough draft, all you can have with you is your introduction and an outline. You can't have an already handwritten rough draft with you, okay? So I know it's your work. I know you're not copying a paper from somebody else. And this is really a thing that we're doing throughout the English departments at Coastal. Then the final draft will be due in Canvas on the 10th. And you would have read this in the syllabus, but just to reiterate, there's only 4 file types that you can use to submit through turnitin.com. Word files, that's a doc or docx, DOC or docx, an RTF file, or a PDF file. And most word processors will let you convert it to a PDF file. Do we have any Mac users in here? Okay, so you're going to have to learn how to convert to a PDF file, because I can't read or open a .pages file. Okay, it's hard for me to record a grade for your essay if I can't read it. So make sure that you're converting it to a PDF. So that's going to be due on September the 10th. Questions so far on the due dates? Okie dokie. Here's your assignment. You're going to be reviewing the 20 topics under essay topics from page 355 to 356 of your textbook. Then select a topic and write a 3 to 5 page, and that's at least 1,000 words, essay that describes your topic, but also makes an argument for why this event or thing has meaning for you. Most of these descriptive essay topics are asking you to describe an object that has meaning, a time in your life that has meaning, a specific event that has meaning, something like that. Your essay should have a clearly stated thesis and support that thesis with solid evidence. It is not enough to describe your topic, but you must also decide what effects this noun, person, place, thing, event, whatever it might be, depending on what you choose, has had on your life. In other words, proving these effects rather than just describing the event. That's not to say the descriptions aren't important, but they should not be the focus. You should rely on the skills you learned on in the chapters in your textbook. Okay, so what do I mean by proving what an event means to you? Let's see, Mackenzie, you clean your teeth at night? Prove it. Tell me what you do to clean your teeth. You get a bar of soap and, okay, how do you clean your teeth? Okay, what do you put on the toothbrush? Toothpaste. What kind of toothpaste? Crest. Why? Okay, thank you for being my victim there. What Mackenzie just did is she not only described an activity, cleaning her teeth, but also gave us some details. And those details are what prove your point, okay? Because if I didn't know what brushing your teeth was, you could say, well, you clean yourself with like a poof ball, maybe. You use a poof ball in your mouth, or do you use soap? Do you use alcohol? What do you use to clean your teeth? So pretend like you're explaining this event to maybe somebody who doesn't know it very well. You don't have to go into super detail. You have to still be selective with your detail. But don't assume your audience knows what you're talking about. And this has an added bonus because when we use good selective detail, we're also making that event or that thing specific to our experience. And let me show you an example. This is from one of the things on 355 to 356. Number 2, here are some suggestions for a descriptive essay. Focus your topic to fit your assignment. Don't forget that every description, whether objective or subjective, has a purpose. And so one of the topics is a favorite piece of music or a song. That's pretty simple. We all have songs we like, or at least types of music we like for the most part. Well, what if a favorite piece of music was your favorite, say, in junior high, or middle school, I guess. And then in high school, you started dating someone. They liked that song too. It became our song. Wow, the meaning has changed. Went from one of the first songs that I liked to our song. We're in love, great. Then they dump you. Well, then that song's meaning changes then, because you still may like the song itself, but not really care for the associations with it. But see, that's going to be unique to your experience, that person you're dating, why you like that song, why you picked that song, why that song initially had meaning to you, how that meaning changed when you're dating and then after dating a person. Okay, so that's what I mean by making it unique to your experience, where you're discussing it in such a way where you're illustrating to your reader the meaning that that thing has for you. And you have 20 topics here, so you should find something that works. Okay, any questions so far? Good. Okay, so what to write about? This goes into a little bit more detail. The first thing that you should do when composing this essay is to think of some positive and negative effects that this topic has on your life. Not everything's going to be positive, as I just mentioned. You might associate a song with a breakup, even though you still like it. The more details you brainstorm, the more ideas you will have to draft with. And one thing that I've been telling my classes with this essay is when you're brainstorming, which we'll work on Monday, when we're brainstorming, try to come up with at least one more idea than you think you're going to need for the paper. So say you've got 3 good ideas that you want to discuss in the paper. Try to think of one more, because what if you get done discussing those 3 ideas and you only have 800 words? If you do a little extra brainstorming just to make sure you have enough, then you have something to go back to. Okay? Let's see. Once you brainstorm all the sensory details and meanings you've associated with this topic and some of the impact that it has on your life, work to organize your ideas in a way that makes sense to both you and your audience. If you are comfortable, use the 5-paragraph essay format for this essay, But if you have more to say, you can certainly write more than 5 paragraphs. In essence, you can have more than 3 body paragraphs if necessary. The 5-paragraph essay is a good starting point for an essay in any class, right? Introduction, 3 body paragraphs, conclusion. But in college writing, especially if you're going to get a 4-year degree, a lot of majors you're going to have to write a 7 to 10 page paper, maybe a 15-page paper by the time you're a senior. It's hard to write just 3 paragraphs with that, okay? So if you have more to say to prove your thesis, it's okay to write more than 3 body paragraphs, okay? Use the 5-paragraph essay as a starting point, but you can kind of branch out from there if you need to, all right? Questions on that? Awesome. Okay, so a very basic but limited outline might look like this. So in paragraph 1, you might introduce the topic, illustrate what you're planning on discussing, and then you finish that introduction with your thesis, okay? Then in paragraph 2, you might describe your topic. It depends on which topic you choose. And then you need to have at least 2 of your body paragraphs proving with specific examples how this event or thing has meaning in your life. And I'm going to provide a sample essay on this topic so you can kind of get a gauge of what an essay on this might look like, okay? Then you have a thorough conclusion that puts a good final stamp on your essay in that last paragraph. Now, when you're writing details, write a specific but concise description of your topic, but spend the majority of your paper proving to the reader, what the effect it has on your life. Now, some of these topics, for example, number 3, describe a piece of equipment important to your major, a hobby, or favorite sport. Do be a little cautious if you're writing about a sport, because describing a championship win usually comes off as sappy, sentimental, not very interesting, and it's not really the fault of the event. It's difficult to translate the meaning that it had for you on the page. However, you might use a football as an object if going to Tuscaloosa or Auburn is really important to you in the fall. It's a place where you gather with friends or family. Maybe you spent time with family members that are no longer with us. Maybe it's a way that you came out of your shell in middle school or high school. Maybe it's something you did to connect with somebody. That's the type of meaning that's going to be the most interesting. Okay, so when we're describing an event, be selective with your detail. The football may be the object that gets you started, but writing a whole paragraph describing what a football looks like it works for an exercise, for writing exercise, but doesn't really work on a paper. So be careful with your detail, be selective. Do not walk the reader through every aspect of the event. And remember to keep the focus on the effects the topic has on your life and not just describe it. Again, the thing that your focus needs to be on is how this thing has affected you. Okay, so you're using it as a launching point for a semi-argumentative essay. Okay. Questions? Good. Okay, so format. This is kind of your checklist for what your paper should look like and what it should include. You need to have an interesting title. Now, don't beat yourself up about a title, okay? Papers don't fail, generally speaking, for titles. You might lose 0.25% of your grade if you have a bad title or an offensive title or something like that. But don't freak out about a title. It needs to be at least 3 full pages. There's about 300 words per page, roughly. I do go by the word count. So you're writing in bigger text or different text or something like that to make the paper longer. It doesn't work because I go by the word count. Now remember that you'll not be able to revise the essay if you don't meet 90% of the minimum. So you need to make sure that you write at least 900 words. However, there's no maximum word count on any essay in this course. It needs to be double-spaced and Times New Roman 12-point font. We're going to go over the formatting stuff before the paper is due. But Times New Roman is not the default font. What you're demonstrating in college in general is that you can follow directions. That's part of what your degree illustrates. So that's one of the things behind doing that. Have page numbers and your last name in the upper right corner of every page. Have a thesis statement that answers the so what question. We're going to talk about that at length on Monday. Put the phone away, please. Be clearly and logically organized, free of grammatical and mechanical errors, and language appropriate to an academic essay. This means you avoid the second person, slang, stuff we primarily use in spoken language as opposed to written language. And that's part of the process in practicing all this stuff. Okay, any questions? All right, there was a pie chart on your syllabus, but this is the actual rubric that shows the grade breakdown and what you're going to be evaluated on. This is a good tool in the editing process because you can look at it and say, does my introduction do all these things? Do I stay focused on my thesis? Do I have clear, well thought out paragraphs? Do I have good ideas? Do I have a solid conclusion? All that sort of stuff is right here. It's not just a grade sheet, it's also a good tool for you all to be able to edit your papers or do that final edit on the paper. All right, any questions on the essay? All right, let me go ahead and stop the video.